Hi everyone, welcome back to Nails by Sora. This is Stephanie speaking. Hope you're all doing well. Today is going to be a dip process video because I've seen I'm on a fair number of Facebook groups, and it's been coming up a lot lately that people are having issues with their dip cracking, their tips breaking off, having problems with cloudiness on their top coat and whatnot. And I just wanted to, not that I'm an authority on anything whatsoever, but I have done dip quite a lot. I've been doing it for over a year. More gel and acrylic lately, as it seems, but I figured I wanted to go through my process and show you a few different ways that you can achieve a dip manicure, whether it's the dip method or the pour over method, the apex method, which I'm actually not sure if I'm going to tackle the apex method in this video because I did just put on new extensions with acrylic powder and my nails are a little thicker than I wanted them to be at the moment. And I don't really need to build up an apex, but I can definitely explain the process with you and go through that. But first, let me show you what I'm going to be using. First and foremost, you want to start with a lightly buffed surface on your nails, and you want to make sure that you dehydrate your nails. And I use Modelones. Is this the right one? I've got 2 bottles of Modelones nail dehydrator right now. One is tainted with chrome powder because I used it to create my own chrome liquids in another video, and I used it to dehydrate my nail. Thankfully it separates, it settled all to the bottom, but I used the wrong bottle to dehydrate my nail before I went and put on the acrylic extensions, and then realized that I pulled the wrong one. So you want an untainted bottle of nail dehydrator, and it's basically just like an isopropyl alcohol. You can use isopropyl alcohol or acetone if your nails are really oily on their own. I would definitely go for the acetone because it's really going to draw out all the oils from your nail bed. And that's it. Don't use pH bond, don't use protein bond. It's going to make it, I know some people do. I have not had good luck with it. It makes the first dip layer very difficult to adhere. So I would just go for the nail prep dehydrator and then go on with your base bond. So the liquids that I use are Azure Beauty, and they're the ones I use from the beginning. I do have other brands that I've tried. Vivid Glam Co. is a good brand, but I find that the top coat can get tainted very easily if you're not careful. Azure Beauty, even before I knew that you should wipe off your brush before you put it back into the bottle, I never had any problems with cross-contamination and hardening of the liquids or the brush. So seeing as how they've been a good stable standby, I've always gone back to Azure Beauty. So those are the liquids, and then I'm actually going to be using 5 different colors because I wanted to do kind of a gradation of grays. So I'm using a neutral sparkle from Sparkle & Co., which is a white. Then I'm going into Gigi's Custom Dips with a Silver Fox, which is, I've only used it once, but it was my favorite gray. It's got a nice flake in it. Kind of like a pinky green shift to it. So that's going to go on my pointer finger. On my middle finger, I'm using Front Porch Swing, also by Sparkle & Co., which is a neutral gray. Kind of a little pinky purple to it. This one is called Vancouver from West Coast Dips, getting a little bit darker in the gray. And then for the darkest gray, the Duke by Miss Florida Nails. So, and this even has a little bit of a holographic sparkle to it. So those are going to be the 5 colors that I use, and I'm going to do different methods on each of the nails, but I'll go through them. And unfortunately, I don't have larger cake cupcake liners at the moment, so I'm going to be using these minis, but I would suggest using full-size cupcake liners, 2-inch, 3-inch. These are like an inch, inch and a half, and they're really tiny, but they will serve their purpose. So we're going to get started. And I'm going to start, as I said, with my dehydrator. Now, I already did dehydrate my nails, but I've since been walking around and I was playing with my cat. So I want to make sure that my nails are really well dehydrated first. Make sure you're aware of any cuts that you may have on your hand. Like I have one apparently. Ouch, that stings. And you just want to let that dry before you go in with your base coat. Now you also do want to be familiar with your base coats, their drying times, because as obviously gel base, it doesn't cure until you cure it in the lamp. Dip base is air dry, obviously. So you want to make sure that you know how fast you need to move. Once you have it on the nail, you want to make sure that you only wait a couple of seconds before you dip or pour into your powder. And you do want to make sure that you give it a nice sifting or stirring, just to make sure that everything is completely mixed. You want to make sure that you've got a lint-free wipe next to you so that you can wipe off your brush in between coats, because you really don't want to be putting product back into the bottle. So this is, I'm going to do the pour over method to start. What I'm doing is I'm taking the brush and I'm wiping off one side quite well. And then I'm going to turn it over, push the product towards the cuticle, and pull away. You want to make sure that you get into your side walls really well. Wipe off your brush on both sides and then pour over. Give it a good tap. Look for any coverage areas that you can add to. You can press down gently, make sure that the powder is well adhered. And then using a water marbling tool or a toothpick, just go around the cuticles and the sidewall, make sure that you clear the area so that you don't have any, so it doesn't build up in the cuticle, because if it goes over the cuticle, then as it's growing out, it's going to separate and you can get lifting. And then you get water underneath and you can wind up with greenies, and you just want to make sure that you get a clean line around the cuticle. So I'm going to put that aside for now. And I'm going to go into my second nail. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to wait. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to do one nail at a time because I don't want to drag color from one nail to the other. It's always easier, obviously, if you're doing one color across the board, but if you're doing multiple colors, do one color at a time, finish, activate, and then move on to the next color so that you don't get cross-contamination. All right, so I've waited about 2 minutes, and now I'm going to go in with a stiff brush, and I'm going to brush away from the cuticle to dust off all the excess powder that's laying on the nail. You don't want to scrub too hard because you don't want to run the risk of pulling off the color, pulling it away from the glue. But you just want to clear the surface so that you can go in with your second coat. Get under the nail, and then you can go in with your second coat. So at this point, it's up to you whether or not you want to continue pouring over or if you want to dip into it. If you pour over, you're going to get lighter coverage. If you dip in, it's going to be a little bit heavier. So it's really up to you how much saturation you want. But basically the same process for the second coat. I'm actually going to dip back into the brush, to the bottle, after wiping off my brush to get a little bit more liquid so I can get in around the sidewall and make sure that it's really well covered. And then I think I'm going to dip in. You just want to go in at an angle, go up to the cuticle line, pull out and tap off. Go in once again with your water marbling tool. And then if you feel like you need a little bit more coverage, you can pour over once again. And then wait another 2 minutes before brushing off the excess. All right, so once again, we're gonna go in and we're going to brush off the excess. And I'm not going to do a third coat because at this point, I like the coverage. It's going to be semi-sheer anyway, and I don't want to build up excess bulk. I've got the structure of the acrylic nail beneath it, so I don't need structure. And I have the opacity level that I feel I need. So I'm going to activate because now that I'm going in with a different color, I don't want to get the other color on my nail without being able to brush it off and cleanse the nail. So just like with the base coat, you want to go all over the nail. You could be a little bit more liberal, but as always, make sure you brush off your brush before going back into the bottle, and make sure you get the activator all over the nail. All right, so I'm gonna close that up and set it aside because I don't want to pull that by accident instead of the base coat. I've done that before. And I'm going to move on to the next color, Silver Fox. I forgot what it was called. I'm gonna give it a stir. And for this one, I'm going to just do a full dip-in procedure. So I'm going to get my cupcake liner and I'm going to put the jar inside the liner just to catch any spillage. Obviously, these cupcake liners are insufficient for that. But same process, wiping off one side of the brush, going in towards the cuticle and pulling away. Making sure you get in all the corners along the sidewall and up towards the free edge. Wipe off the brush before going back into the bottle. Go in at an angle and push up towards the cuticle. You can hold it there for a few seconds, or you can pull it out and just leave the powder on the nail. Press it in a little bit. Tap off, and then go around the cuticle line. All right, 2 minutes are up. Gonna go in with the brush and scrub away. Now for the second coat, I'm actually going to do something a little different because I want to get as much payoff with the flakes as possible. So I'm actually going to lay my nail upside down inside the dip powder. But in order to do that, I need to pour it into the cupcake liner. So when you've got glitters and flakes, what you want to do is shake your cupcake liner because all of the lighter flakes and particles are going to come to the top. So then you're just going to do the same process again. And then you're going to press your nail into the powder. All right, so I went and, sorry, I got a phone call. I went and cleaned around the cuticle line. It's been 2 minutes, and now I'm going to brush off the excess once again. And then going in with the activator so that we can move on to the next nail. All right, so moving on to the next color. First, I'm going to put this away so I don't knock it over. And moving on to front porch swing. So I'm going to attempt to walk you through the apex method. It's going to be an abbreviated process because, as I said, I don't need to really build up an apex. But if you are starting on naked nails or you're using extensions that don't have an apex, you definitely want to build it up to create that structure. Especially if you're doing long nails, you need to have that apex around the point where the nail extends past the pad of your finger to give it stability, so that if you accidentally knock your hand or something happens, the nail doesn't break. So usually what the apex method entails is starting, there's different ways, but the way that I've done it, or the one that I've seen most often, is just drawing a line up the center of the nail and then doing that as your first layer. So you're going to pour over as usual or dip in, whatever you prefer. Tap that off and wait your 2 minutes to do, I'm going to just do another pour, to do your next layer. So what you're going to do is you're going to slowly build outward. So that's going to be your first layer. You're going to then do another layer. Ooh, thundering. Slightly wider. And then you'll do a third one that goes from sidewall to sidewall. Now I did bring this down a little bit far. You really want to start a little bit further up so that you gradually go down towards the cuticle. But the premise is the same, that you want to slowly build out from the center, doing subsequent layers so that it's thinner around the edges and built up more towards the center. The problem with that is that you wind up with very thin edging, and then if you don't have complete coverage around the sidewall up towards the free edge, you could wind up getting a small crack that will then fissure through the nail. So if you're going to do the apex method, you want to make sure that if you do, say, 3 layers of color and your last layer is basically like your first layer around the edge, you want to make sure that you do 1 or 2 layers of clear dip on top over the entire nail, so that you get a buildup of product on the edge and at the free edge of the sidewall and the free edge, so that you don't wind up with such a thin layer that you could wind up with cracks and fissures. So I'm going to give that about 30 more seconds, brush off, do the next layer, and then I'll end up doing a third layer for this nail so that I have good coverage around the entire nail. All right, so that's this nail. Activate once again and move on to the next nail. So for the next nail, I'm just going to go through the regular process as I've demonstrated it on my first 2 nails, but I'm going to speed it up and put on some music, and I will come back when we're on to the next step. Did not get good coverage there, so let's try again. I'm a little disappointed because these two colors look almost exactly the same. All right, so we've got our nails all done. They've all been activated. This one's still drying a little bit, so I'm going to come to that last, and I'm going to go and file and shape in order. Now, it is completely up to you what your situation is. If you did 3-4 layers of color, you really don't need to go in with a clear coat on top, because you've got enough depth of color to make sure that when you're filing and shaping, you don't file through that color and lose the opacity. If you only do two layers, it is advisable to go in with a clear coat so that when you're shaping through the clear coat and not through your color. Especially if you're using glitters, you want to make sure that you encapsulate with clear, or if you're doing the gel method where you start off with dip and then you finish off with gel, you could always encapsulate with your gel base. But I, generally speaking, don't like to use clear because I feel it just further bulks the nail. So I'm just going to shape my nails as is without a clear coat on top. If you were to use a clear coat though, it's just the same exact process. You don't even need to activate first, but you can if you want to protect the color when you're doing multiple colors across your hand. You just go in with another base coat, do your clear coat, let dry, activate, and then start shaping and buffing. So I'm using a 100-180 grit hand file from Madame Glam. On most of my nails, I really don't have to do any filing or shaping at all. You can see it's a very smooth progression from the cuticle to the free edge. I do have a bit of warping over here from when I pressed my nail into the dip powder, and I have a bit of a ridge on this nail from when I went in and had to do an extra coat because I had an uneven coating on the side. So I'm going to focus on those nails for the shaping, but I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to go in and lightly redefine the profile because dip powder does bulk up the nail, as I said. And I'm just going to lightly go across the surface. I'm not even really pressing, just making sure that the cuticle and the free edge, or the sidewall rather, are clear from product, that I have a nice smooth surface. And then I'll end up going in with a buffing block to really smooth out that surface. Because the thing with dip liquids are, since they are really thin, generally speaking, in order to get that really smooth glass shiny top, you want to make sure that you buff any marks from the file away so that you get that really smooth surface and shine. All right, so now that we've shaped and we've profiled the nail, we're gonna go in with, not the acetone, gonna go in with a little bit of alcohol and just wipe all of that dust off the nail. I usually like to go in with my scrubby brush also around the cuticle and underneath the nail. All right, so like I said, you want to go in and buff. So let me see if I can find my buffing block. All right. Just a light buff across the surface. Get rid of all those scratch marks. And now what you want to do is not wipe your hand across the nail because oils. Now you always want to make sure after you buff and file that you go in with more activator. The main reason being that when you top coat, the activator and the top coat work in tandem, and the activator helps cure the top coat and really create that shine. So you want some fresh activator on the surface of your nail so that you can go ahead and complete the manicure and get that really nice finish. Now you do want the activator to dry a bit before you go in with your top coat, and you want to make sure that any activator that's laying on the surface of the nail is wiped off. So you can use a dry lint-free wipe, or you could use a little bit of alcohol just to wipe away the surface activator so that it doesn't contaminate your brush. I'm just going to go in and lightly fix that profile. All right, now you can wait 2 to 3 minutes. Just lightly wipe the surface with alcohol and go in with your first coat. Now all you really need are 3 swipes across the surface for your first pass. Wipe off your brush, go on to the next nail. And by the time you get back around to your thumb, it'll be time to do the second coat. All right, now you can see it's starting to look a little wrinkly, and that's how you know it's drying. You don't want it to dry too much before you go in and do your second coat. You can be a little bit more detailed at this point. make sure you get your sidewall, make sure you cap your edges. And then I usually wait 5 minutes. You really don't need that long. About now, it's probably already dry on my thumb, but I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes, not touch it, not even breathe on it. And then I'll come back to finish up. Well, I'm finished, but I'll come back to finish the video. Oh, the last thought is you just want to make sure that before you close up your bottle, you wipe the neck. Take a little bit of alcohol on a lint-free wipe, just go around because it is glue. And if you have buildup around the neck of the bottle, you will glue your bottle shut. All right, so this is the finished manicure. I did have to do something a little bit different with these two nails, ironically. I have some particles, some stuff stuck on the nail. I don't know if these are just abrasions that I didn't buff out, but I wanted to rebuff the nail and go over it again, but I didn't buff through it enough. The top coat wouldn't cure again, so I ended up just going over it with gel top coat to finish it off. Same with this nail, I ended up denting it, so I just went over it with gel top coat. But all the other nails are the Azure Beauty top coat. They are, you can see they're just as shiny as the gel top coat. And I absolutely love the way this turned out, and I hope that you do too. I just wanted to also show you something else because I forgot that my thumbnail rain check is a UV changer. So I thought it would, at first I thought it went to like a light pink or a gray, but I want you to see what this turns into. So I'm just going to put it in my gel lamp for about 5 seconds, 10 seconds maybe, to get it to really activate, because it really is stunning, and it just goes to show how wonderful Sparkling Co.'s dip colors are and their products overall. But look at that. Look at that change. That beautiful plum grape purple, and it's already starting to fade into a lighter purpley pink, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And even the full-on purple goes well with the gray tone of the rest of my nails. But that's going to do it for today. If you have any comments or questions, things that I didn't go over with the dip process, other techniques you want me to try, please put it in the description box, the comment section below. I am going to finish off with a little bit of cuticle oil, and then I'm going to dust my desk because, my God, it just gets everywhere. But all the products that I used will be in the description box below. And as I said, if you have any questions with anything that I covered, anything I didn't cover, please let me know and I'll be happy to go over it or do another video. And that's going to do it. Give me a like and a subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you always know when new videos are available. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.